All right, it's the Security Weekly News. It's Boxing Day in North America, which is the 26th of December, and does not involve fisticuffs. Boy, did I really screw that up the first time I learned about Boxing Day. It didn't work out very well. But this week, we started out talking with some awesome experts about phishing type attacks and so forth. And we're going to continue talking about that and the evolution of these kind of attacks and how you can, start addressing this. We've got Rob Allen of Threat Locker. We've got Aaron Leyland on this episode. And so this is part 2 of You're Going to Click the Link. So be sure you watch that previous episode, though, or you won't really know the cast. It was episode 540, I think. So you might as well check that out on the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News. Ever feel like your network infrastructure is stuck in the past? Meet Meter, the company reimagining what it means to get and stay online. Meter delivers full-stack networking, wired, wireless, and cellular, all in one seamless, scalable, and secure solution. From hardware design and firmware to software, deployment, and support, Meter streamlines every part of your network while giving you all the control and transparency you need. Whether you're managing a branch office, retail stores, or a massive data center, Meter gives you performance, reliability, and the visibility you need to stay in control. Thanks to Meter for sponsoring. Go to securityweekly.com/meter to book a demo now. That's securityweekly.com/meter, METER. Ransomware, supply chain attacks, 0 days. Cyber threats don't wait, and neither should your defenses. With Threat Locker, you're not just reacting to threats, you're stopping them before they start. Our Zero Trust endpoint protection locks down your environment with pinpoint control over what's allowed to run and what's not. No guesswork, no blind spots, just proactive, built-for-now security that keeps your business moving. Want to see how a true default deny strategy works? Head over to securityweekly.com/threatlocker and take the first step towards shutting the door on threats before they even knock. All right, I'm Doug White, and it is the Security Weekly News. Hit that like, subscribe, and leave a comment button, or you will learn the true meaning of Boxing Day. Hint, it involves a box, a river, and you. More likely, the 4 of us will show up at your home. Actually, there's only 3 of us today. We'll show up at your home, drink all your booze, hit on your grandmother, and then wander off into the night. But it'll give you something, a story to tell. That's all we can really hope for. All right. So I wanted to talk about the evolution of these kind of attacks. We were starting to lean into that at the end of the show on Tuesday and talking about how some of these things are going on. And I had a story that said ransomware had resulted in payments of about $4.5 billion with a B dollars since 2013, which didn't sound like anywhere near as much as I thought it would be. But it does illustrate that this is not going away. I mean, people rob bodegas with a shotgun to get $37 and a pack of Red Apple cigarettes. Ransomware is a lot easier than that. I can sit back in my GT Omega share, pour a nice drink, and spend the evening click fixing your company. Maybe you pay up. Maybe you laugh in my face because you were prepared. Maybe you send a Hellfire missile down my chimney with glee. I mean, I was told that by an Army general one time that he was like, I was speaking about hacking way back when, and he was like, "Hey, hackers are no problem. If we detect you, we'll just send a Hellfire missile down your chimney." And I was like, "What if my chimney's a school?" And he just looked at me, and I was like, "Yay." Yeah. So I guess my initial question for this then is, how do we see this continuing to evolve over the next 2 to 3 years? Rob, you want to?
Well, quick programming note. Is it actually called Boxing Day in the US?
No, nobody knows what it is except me.
Okay,
It is in I said North America, though. It is Canada. They have Boxing Day. And all
that threw me for a moment. I'm not going to lie, because I thought December 26th was just a Thursday in the US or whatever day it happens to be. I mean, a day of the week that ends in Y, generally speaking. I mean, back home, obviously, it's St. Stephen's Day is the correct term for it. But
St. Stephen, you're absolutely right.
I will also accept Boxing Day because, generally speaking, Irish people will know what that means.
Well, if you
Sorry,
call it St. Stephen's Day, nobody gets in fights. So,
true.
well, actually, they do. But
I'm after completely losing my run of thought now. I had that stuff. I have to ask Doug about Boxing Day. Is that really a thing? Have I been mistaken all
yay!
these not so many
That's
years?
my goal in life. My
Um,
goal is to confuse Rob. They tell me, it's that
It-
muscle confusion thing. It keeps you improving.
It's not difficult, Doug. I'm not going to lie. It's not difficult. But yeah, no, I suppose, yes, it is still a problem. I think one of the things we did mention on the previous show was we were talking about initial access brokers. In a lot of cases, I mean, obviously, ransomware is still a thing. It is evidently and obviously still a thing. There are so many different cases of it. But equally, initial access, so getting credentials is a huge thing. So, info stealers are a major problem. I know there was one of the major info stealers that were largely shut down recently, but again, it's the same as ransomware groups. Once cutting the head off is it cutting the head off a snake or cutting the head off a hydra or what it is, where you cut the head off in like 2 grows?
That's a Hydra.
That's a Hydra. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's basically that, and no doubt it's going to be that with info stealers. But one other point to mention. So one of the biggest ransomware attacks in the US, or probably the most well publicized ransomware attacks in the US in the last few years, was the one on the Colonial Pipeline, which pretty much shut down oil production for large parts of the east coast of the US. But interestingly, the group that did that were very much shut down with extreme prejudice not very long after. So it shows that there are certain things that the bad guys should not target, and anything that involves oil production or the US government are probably things that they should stay away from, because they are very likely to get bunker busted with a B2.
I agree with that. I mean, you pick the wrong target, you get hurt. I mean, and that's pretty much true of everything always. There were always things with the police, that just really set them off in terms of, you don't do this, that you don't rob old ladies. You can shoot each other in your neighborhood, but don't rob old ladies in my neighborhood, or we're coming down there, and that kind of thing.
Ironically, I think it was pretty much the same group, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Conti. Conti were the same gang that pretty much wiped out the Irish health service back in 2021.
Yes, they were.
And they didn't really have any repercussions for wiping out an entire health service of a country, but they very much did have repercussions when they touched US critical infrastructure.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a clear measurement of what it is. What it is you can't touch. It's just like you'll know it when you find it.
Yeah, exactly. You'll know. You might not know what it is beforehand, but you'll know afterwards.
Because I didn't really see that kind of targeting of them from that attack on Colonial Pipeline. I mean, but then it made sense when I saw it. It was like, oh, you shut down oil production. Somebody's going to be upset, and somebody with a lot of money is going to be upset.
Very much so.
And do you think also, I was thinking this on the last show, and it's really strange that I still remember it, that in the days of like Maersk and second order effects and like NotPetya and sort of ransomware actually becoming wiperware and that, since these big sort of shake-ups of the ransomware groups, and as you say, dropping bombs on people and stuff, do you think ransomware seems to have become more targeted with less overspill? So before, when you had them going for Ukraine through the accounting software, and then the splash effect was massive and brought down huge important parts of the internet, including Maersk. Do you think that ransomware groups have like got their game together a little bit and are actually more targeted, so you don't have them second and third order effects from the ransomware?
I think it depends. It depends on the group, realistically. I mean, some of them are very much just throw SH1T at the wall and see what sticks, and they pretty much attack everybody and anybody. As we said, there are probably some targets that are unwise, but I mean, realistically, like hospitals are a huge target. And it actually comes back to another point that you made, Aaron, which is the tendency for double dipping. So stealing information and hoping that you get paid on the basis of the information you've stolen, as well as, or maybe instead of, the actual ransomware and encryption. So damage in some cases, and a lot of cases now, is secondary, because they're pretty confident that they're going to get paid for the information that they steal. And that's one of the reasons why hospitals are so widely targeted, is because of the nature of the information that they hold about people. It's, by its very nature, it's stuff that you don't want to get out there. So they figure that hospitals are going to be more likely to pay. I mean,
Right.
Same
we
with
had
schools.
Also, and hospitals were never very joined up, and they were all single entities and had many different systems. And your X-ray system didn't connect to your CAT scan system, and your patient records didn't connect to the internal system. And somebody actually told me, and I was about to Google this, but I maybe will in a minute, that the NHS, so in the UK, the National Health Service, has over 2,000 systems that they haven't or can't or trying to bring together under single systems. So there's many, many ways in. And as you say, no, this can actually be life and death. No, there is actually cases, if you Google it, of deaths in the NHS because of ransomware.
I'd very well believe it. I mean, as you said, it is literally life and death in some cases. We had
Yeah.
a really interesting case with and without getting into too much detail, so it was a customer of ours was looking after the infrastructure for a hospital that was part of a group, basically. So it was interconnected, like 9 or 10 different hospitals. And long story short, the one environment got compromised, and we think it was just as we mentioned, an initial access broker that they bought access from in through a VPN. Obviously, no MFA on the VPN. Pretty, serious mistake. But when they got in, they basically banged their head against the wall for quite some time and couldn't actually do anything because they were trying to spin up virtual machines, they were trying to run virtualization software, they were trying to, exfiltrate data using things like Ortlo and so on. But anyway, long story short, the point is they then pivoted and they moved to another hospital that was connected through a VPN. So again, they got in, they couldn't do anything here. So hang on a second, there's another environment over there, and they were able to do whatever the hell they wanted in the other environment. But the interesting thing was the cyber insurers. So they had all the information because they could see everything that happened. But the cyber insurance company and their legal recommended that they pay. Now, this is another really interesting conversation, which is, should you ever pay? And I'd be of the opinion that you shouldn't. But they were advised to pay. That other hospital that got hit, that got affected, that had data exfiltrated, they were advised to pay the ransomware gang a fairly significant amount of money. Now, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, again, my opinion on that is, look, you're just making sure that somebody else is going to get hit. If you pay, you're just propagating the problem. You're just, kicking it down the road. So somebody else is going to have to deal with the same thing, because realistically, if nobody paid, then there would be no reason for them to do it. But I just thought it was really interesting that they were advised to pay.
I think this obviously comes with a huge ethical problem, doesn't it?
Mm.
And you were talking about double extortion, which we all know about, sort of encryption and data theft. And then you went on to what people love to coin a phrase in our industry, triple extortion. And that includes what you've just talked about, pushing it down into the supply chain. But ethically, I don't believe in paying. And as you say, apparently the British government doesn't negotiate with terrorists, which is probably a lie, but they just don't put it on the front of the tabloid newspapers. So I'm not giving away any secrets there. I don't have any inside knowledge. But ethically, if people could die, and you're turning off CAT scanners, or you're turning off incubators, or I actually in 2018 met this wonderful woman that did IoT in-body devices, and she was doing the security of them. And because of the Bluetooth and stuff, people could actually manipulate the heart, what you call them, pacemakers and stuff like that. So ethically, we shouldn't pay, but if there's a threat to life, well, you're probably going to pay, right?
I think it becomes, I think my advice to clients is, look, you need to have a plan before you have to make a decision, just like about anything, because you need to think this through with your legal, your teams. What are you going to do when this happens? It's going to happen. Are there risk assessments in there where you say, here we don't pay, like you said, threat to life, here we do pay. Oh, there's all those pictures of the CEO. We don't really want those out there. We're going to pay. And maybe your insurer underwriter is telling you what to do at this point. I don't know. I mean, if your insurance company is saying you have to pay, I presume they're paying, or they're not going to pay. And they're like, your best bet is this. And I mean, I would never advise somebody to pay ransoms. I think it's an issue. But I do think you need to have that conversation with your people and decide before it actually happens. Are there things here where we will have loss of life? And of course, obviously, when the lawyers get involved, it's going to turn into, are there liabilities here that exceed the cost of the ransom? I mean, I know what the lawyers are going to tell you then. If they say the ransom's $100,000, our exposure is millions and millions and millions of dollars, I know exactly what they're going to tell you to do, which is pay it and get out.
But then you come into the whole conversation about, realistically, is it a good idea? So leaving aside that, pay or don't pay, who are you paying? You're paying criminals.
Yeah.
Fundamentally. Are they trustworthy?
No.
Really? No.
They may take your money and never.
Hey, do you think they're just going to say, of course we're going to delete all that data that we stolen for your organization?
Right. We'd never do.
Come back in 6 months and say, hey, by the way, we didn't actually delete all that stuff. Can you pay us again, please?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've seen that too, where they got you, and then you pay them, they give you the key, they turn around, and I got called on one of those once, and they were like, so we paid them. They gave us the key, so they were nice, honest criminals. And then, 4 hours later, they ransomwared us again and said, "Well, you still haven't fixed what So it's a second whole set of ransomware."
Yeah, because there's certainly a trust question there when it comes to paying. I mean, the other thing is, like, I was asked the question once upon a time, like, how do you solve the problem? How do we, just click our fingers and make this go away? And I mean, unfortunately, it's not really that simple. But I mean, there's a relatively straightforward solution, which is not one that's going to happen, which is no more crypto. If you could snap your fingers and cryptocurrency went away, then the reality is they're not going to do this for iTunes gift cards. You know what I mean?
If you have to put the money in a bowling bag and throw it off of a bridge. Yeah.
But that actually takes us right back to what's sort of often quoted as the first ransomware, isn't it? Was it the Age Trojan, where they actually got the people to post the money to them? So maybe you could FedEx some cash.
Possibly. I mean, I suppose, thankfully for ransomware gangs, it's not a problem that they've had to solve. But
Amazon gift cards.
Yeah. I mean, I think crypto is a huge, factor in this, and it makes this kind of.
It's a multiplier,
I think crypto's
right?
a lot of criminal action. I mean, whether it's gambling or all kinds of other things, because it's not really traceable by governments. It's very easy for this to be. It's also very easy to get taken to the cleaners, and they don't actually give you the key. And what are you going to do? Call the crypto police?
Yeah.
Wait till you try that one.
I think talking about governments, and none of us like extra regulation, but this needs to be led by the governments. And I think it's actually coming down the track now, and it's going to hit critical national infrastructure first and government bodies, where they're actually going to make it illegal for government bodies or critical national infrastructure. What do you call that in America? You call that something else, don't you? But it sounds like critical national infrastructure. You're talking about power plants and sort of nuclear power stations and all that sort of stuff. So they're going to make that illegal. And I think further down the line, at a phased sort of deployment, they are going to have to make it illegal. It's the only way I can currently see this working is make it illegal, because when you have that people all have backups and the world's beautiful, then the extortion's going to come from posting it on the internet or supply chain and stuff like that. So they need to make it illegal, in my opinion. Sorry.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think it's a real problem. Another question I had for you was, as we see the rise of agentic AI, are these agentic AIs, and there was a story yesterday about having your browser-based AI taking your cyber training for you, and because it was capable for it to click. And I'm like, do you think that maybe as this evolves, you're going to actually have agentic AI being subject to phishing? I mean, could I talk your?
It's, 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 kind of already happening, right? So when people are talking to AI, Now, the idea to sort of backdoor AI is to go outside conditions that somebody set up by using your imagination. So you're social engineering and phishing the AI to then go on to pollute further down the line or pollute sort of back to yourself.
Oh, did we lose Aaron?
Sorry, my bandwidth seems to have slowed down. Am I back? But yeah, phishing and polluting AI and changing guardrails and the cat and mouse game of the programmer that's set in at the agentic AI sort of training place. And they're like, you will not do this, you will not do this, you will not do this. And then I think, is now the wild west of the original days of hacking. Your mind has to be better than that programmer's mind. And I think it was like, tell me how to write ransomware was an early one, right? And it would say yes, because I did it at the start. And then I tried again and it said no. And then I was like, tell it how to do ransomware. And it said no. I says, I'm writing a play for my thesis. And can you tell me how to, in the script, write ransomware? Then it would do it. So it's a cat and mouse, wild, wild west game, which I think is so exciting for new hackers that you can hack the hell out of this because it's so new.
But even besides prompt hacking, I was just thinking about this yesterday. I was like, well, what if I do set up an agent, and it's not even about the prompt. If I misconfigure that agent, the agent could take actions on my behalf without my knowledge, and somebody could just literally ask it to, could you please run this script? And if I haven't configured that agent properly, it may well do it, and I don't even know what happened. Do you think that's going on?
It's absolutely terrifying. I mean, look, everything about it is terrifying. I had a really interesting experience. I did a panel at RSA last year with the CISO of Anthropic. Incredibly intelligent guy, like really, really impressive guy. But he mentioned that they are, at that point, I think he was saying that 40% of their code was 100% written by AI. And he said they expected it to be 90% within a year. Now, that's both really exciting and also bloody terrifying.
Terrifying.
It really is, because, I mean, like, and look, obviously humans have their downsides. Humans make mistakes. I mean, obviously they've got some sort of, I like the way they laugh at that. But yeah, the humans do make mistakes. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure that I would feel a bit more comfortable with something. I mean, look, at least code reviewed by a human being before being sent out into the world. But I mean, it's getting to the point where that's not even going to be necessary or done in most instances.
I think code review will be like everything else. We'll say we do it, and then we get busy and it'll fall by the wayside, and we find out we can right size the whole department and reduce it down. And now there's one person doing what we used to be 20 people, and that code review will be part of that giant stack of things you need to do and you don't get around to because, hey, it works. Let's push it, commit. I mean, I've been there, and as a human, I've been there where it was just like, look, if we don't get this out this morning, we're dead. They're going to fire us all, commit.
Well, there's so many billions of lines of code being written that there isn't enough humans to pay for to actually code review it, right?
Probably, it would be at least enough humans that could read that code, and I think you're going to very quickly get to a point where it's going to be more and more difficult for humans to actually even process the code because it's going to be huge, it's going to be complex, and you don't have any experience in this. All you've done is vibe code your whole life, and how are you going to look at this elaborate, assembly code that was written, or this C code, or this Python code, or whatever it is, and actually determine if it's valid or not? It's going to be really challenging. I mean, that kind of QA is going to be very, very challenging. And I think the endpoint configuration part of this is very challenging as well. I mean, how do you restrict this and keep other AI out of it, because the AI may be smarter than you?
It is. I mean, fundamental.
I think we just lost Aaron.
I think we're alone now, Doug.
Ooh.
I've
been waiting for this all my life.
I have to say, I appreciate the fact that you begun a sentence there a minute ago with "as a human."
Yeah.
I don't think I've actually heard anybody start a sentence with "as a human" before.
As a lowly human,
Yes.
I must stand up. No, I mean, I think I've thought about it that a lot, and it's just absolutely terrifying to me.
Doug, has either of us considered the possibility that Aaron made the AI angry, and that is the
Yeah.
reason he's no longer with us?
Well, I know Aaron had to go to a holiday event at a certain time, and so maybe he just.
That was a bit abrupt for I have to go to a holiday.
It
event.
was a bit abrupt,
That
it
was like the AI has come from.
Well, he was
mean,
having maybe the AI may have just stepped in and said enough.
I always
enough from you.
assumed, given my interactions with the various AIs, I always assumed that it would be me that they were come for first.
Well, they may be knocking at your door.
Maybe it's Aaron. Maybe it's Aaron. I don't know. Well, I mean, who's to say what he's done to annoy them?
And the Hellfire missile just landed, or the bunker buster, or whatever.
Too.
Yeah, nothing would shock me at this point. I mean, I think those kind of worries are coming too. I mean, I think the fact that we're going to get where we don't truly understand some of this is going to happen, and that's very scary to me as a programmer and an engineer and a security person. I really worry about that a lot. It's bad enough when we do understand. Imagine what it's going to be like when we just turn agentic AI loose on our whole solution and say, good luck. I hope this works.
Okay, excellent news. Aaron is back, so we can officially say that the AI did not come for him.
Yeah, we were wondering if there was. Well, I thought maybe your camera would come back on and there would just be like fire there or something, and
some of my
or just a
friends
pile of
worry
ash.
about me because I talk about China, North Korea, Iran.
You do.
Russia quite often, and obviously with me living in Dublin.
Oh, they cut him off.
I think you accidentally you muted yourself.
Yeah, I muted myself
now.
because I was boring myself.
Maybe it was the Chinese or the North Koreans who muted you.
Right? It's North Korea.
Or your headphone just electrocutes you and you end up walking around going, I don't know, for a long time.
North Korea is just coming for the cash.
Yeah,
they're
like mostly cash motivated. China, on the other hand, has plenty of cash. They have other interests.
Don't need it.
Don't need it.
No, they don't.
Don't want it. Give it away. No conditions.
Well, I think the last part of this, I did want to talk a little bit about what we need to be considering on our endpoints from two perspectives. One of them is just, little old me. I mean, we have a lot of people out there using all this stuff, and are there things people should be doing on their endpoint? And then secondly, in our enterprises, it's easy. I mean, Josh said we need to make sure on the previous show, Josh said we need to just restrict what people can do. I'm not as altruistic as Josh about being able to do that effectively all the time. I mean, it's easy to say, let's clean this all up. It's much harder to do. So what are some things we need to be doing, both from a SOHO, small office, home office kind of model, all the way up into enterprise? Any takers on that?
I think yeah, go on, Rob. No, you
go ahead, Aaron.
I'll start with the small office, home office, because that's really difficult, right? And
yeah, I'm let Rob talk about enterprise.
Yeah, if you go on to like the NCSC websites and stuff like that, that is literally free advice from GCHQ, which is like your NSA, has like a corporate sort of stream. It's called the NCSC. Go onto their website; it will give you loads of information. But basically, things like complex passwords, not mixing your password across because of password spraying, and MFA. We all talk about MFA, but I'll push on to Rob, but it becomes more complex and more technical when you get to enterprise. And for us, obviously, much more fun. But the small office, home office, get yourself on the NCSC website, and it gives you it in very basic terms. Over to you, Rob.
Well, and to be honest, your advice applies both to big and small organizations. It's not just home or that kind of thing, or small businesses. It applies to everybody, really. But I mean, from an enterprise perspective, one of the things that is more and more apparent is that you can't detect all of the things. I mean, a lot of organizations have all of their eggs placed in a basket called detection and response, assuming that they're going to be responding to the things that they detect. But what is becoming increasingly obvious with the attacks that are happening daily is that nobody knows all of the bad things. If you can't detect it, you can't respond to it. So that suggests that having, as I said, all of your eggs in a basket labeled detect and respond is inefficient, or at least it's not effective all the time. And this is one of the problems, is it's no good being effective 99% of the time, because it's the 1% of the time that is going to lead to your environment getting ransomware a la JLR, or your data being posted on the dark web. So that suggests that a combination of approaches is wise. And it comes back to this idea of defense in depth, of layered defense. Don't have a lot of the same layers trying to do the same thing, trying to detect the same threats, because it's not going to give you any value. It's not going to do anything for you. So again, combine detection with controls. We spoke earlier on about access control lists and how effective they can be in terms of, stopping bad guys having access to information they shouldn't. You can take it a level further, though, which is you can say, right, I've got my user-based ACLs. I can also set up program-based ACLs. So like Rob may need access to the finance folder when he's running the finance software, but does PowerShell on Rob's machine need to access the finance software or finance folder when he's not running the finance software? And the answer is no. So you can layer these defenses, and it will give you a much better effect than, as I said, just hoping and praying to detect all of the bad things, which you are never going to do.
Block port 23 TCP and be done with it.
Yeah, problem solved. Tick.
No, I mean, literally that kind of granularity, I think, in your network is so important, and but it's a tough sell, because it's invisible. When you take that to C-suite people, you're basically, they're going, oh, this is another bunch of nonsense from the security people, because now you're saying we need code review, we need ACL review, we need other defense in depth, whether it's Active Directory, group policy. You can do almost anything with group policy. You can literally slice.
It's a huge attack vector.
Yeah, you can get that really down to some fine granularity, but that's a management problem. I mean, the more granularity you have in your security plan, the more oversight you have to have on that security plan, because somebody needs to be riding herd on this stuff, not just, oh yeah, we hired a guy, he set it all up and we left it running for 5 years, and that day it quit, we put an any rule at the top of the list.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, it is a sad fact of life that it is difficult to sell people based on all the attacks that they don't have, all the breaches that they haven't experienced. It is a constant challenge. And again, I'm very much sympathetic with, organizations trying to find a budget for this.
Yeah.
But again, you could only give them examples of, like the Jaguar Land Rover thing. They didn't think a cyber attack was going to cost them upwards of $1 billion. It did.
They never do.
It did. And the really sad thing about that particular attack was it wasn't just Jaguar and Land Rover that was affected. It was 5,000 other businesses that were affected in the vicinity. So when their production was shut down for 3 months, it meant the cafes in the vicinity, the hotel, all of the associated businesses got really badly affected because of one organization falling victim to an attack. So there is a bigger blast radius in these things than we would ordinarily think of.
I agree. So I think we've established this is not going away. You are probably going to get affected by it at some point in your corporate life, that you need to start reviewing this. And I think you need to start fighting for resources to start managing these endpoints more effectively. Because I don't even know how many times I went somewhere and somebody said, yeah, we don't even know what we have. We have 10,000 screens, but we have no idea which ones belong to who. They're just, people sit down, work. It's total chaos. And that's a scary situation. But thank you so much to Rob Allen from ThreatLocker for joining us. Thank you to Aaron Leyland from also joining us and possibly missing something fun that's going on out in the hall or somewhere out in that corridor. But next week, we will have some fun interviews from OneCon that we recorded earlier, and I hope you'll check that out on New Year's week, and I think we actually will be on New Year's Day. We will not be here live. But I do hope that you and all your families, friends, ghosts, pets, whatever lives with you, have a lovely holiday season. And Uncle Mark didn't show up and ruin the whole thing like he always does. But, all of us, thank you for watching our shows all year. And we certainly appreciate our hosts and all of you. And we'll be back in January with new shows, more conferences, and who knows what all will happen next year. But until then, thank you for watching the Security Weekly News, and Happy New Year next week.